Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another session of Dialogue with Prof. Mandi Rukuni. Thank you for joining us this evening for tonight's session on love, culture, and relationships. Tonight, Prof will break down the 7 laws of love. He will give us a 30-minute presentation on the topic, and we'll open the floor for contributions and questions for 30 minutes. Our session will be 1 hour in total. Thank you very much. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you so much, Kevin, and good evening to you all, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. 7 laws of love. You will wonder how I got on to putting together these rather obvious 7 laws, but I always say that all of us are experts on love. We are all players and also referees. So I'm sure any one of you would have written the same 7 laws. But I suppose in my own family, I would have been, and circle of friends, I suppose. It's either I was the one who made the most mistakes in my younger age, and I learned the most, and I ended up being a coach. So you see, there's always a good side to a bad start. I mean, I actually found that the older I got, the more I had the younger generation in my own family approaching me. I had more young men approach me than young women, but I've also talked to a few young ladies about this issue. And by the time I wrote my little book on the 7 laws of love, I found that the young ladies are reading it more than the boys. But anyway, I will start by saying, listen, when we say love, in this particular case, I'm leaning towards where most young people tend to be these days. They will say, I'm in a relationship, meaning they do have a close, maybe even sexually oriented relationship with somebody. So I'm leaning towards that today in terms of 7 laws of love, referring to 7 laws of managing relationships. So I'll contradict myself in future when I talk about spirituality, because I have a very different definition of love when we delve deeper into the spiritual realm of things. But today, let's just get on with the 7 laws of love. So the first law is respect, because if there's no mutual respect in the relationship, you might as well forget the rest of the laws. So I would say that, and I say this to my daughters and granddaughters, if I don't care whether this young man you think you're in love with is a hunk and the most good-looking guy in the world, or from the wealthiest family, if he does not respect you, just forget about him. There will be many more to come down the road. You know, the same would apply to the young man. If she does not respect you, you are in trouble. You see, because women are more emotionally mature than men. So if she does not respect you, she can really make your life miserable. I know quite a few men who have committed suicide when they failed to garner love from the lady. So mutual respect is the foundation of any relationship. And once you secure that, and respect is a commitment. It's not respect on this condition. Respect is unconditional. Once that breaks down, all other rules and laws break down. And but I got to this one because most young men who have approached me would be, for the older generation, the scene is very, very obvious. The young man is head over heels in love with this young lady. They get engaged, which is what Chipo was talking about last session, whether it's a ring or it's a traditional one. They get married, and I tell you what, you just count 2 to 3 years. That's the average I found. Then the young man starts being miserable. This is a young man who would have killed for this young lady, but 3 years down the road, he doesn't want to see her anymore. So, and then a few have come to me, and I always ask the question, what's the problem? And almost 4 out of 5, the answer is predictable. She does not respect me anymore. Oh, really? She does not respect you anymore? Fine. Why should she respect you anyway? I mean, she has known you for 2 to 3 years now. She knows everything about you. She knows everything. So you're not the same kind of hero you were before she took you in. Now she knows you. So you need better understanding that you're not just going to get respect. Why should she respect you? Unless if she's disrespecting you in public. But you see, women are more emotionally intelligent than men. They would normally not disrespect you in public. But if she drags you into the bedroom and she tells you exactly what it is, then it's okay. But you know, men are a little sensitive when they are told the truth. So I know the same applies the other way around, but I should just say this respect thing is number 1. Number 2 is protect your partner. And protection is very simple. Anything that would harm one's feelings or body should not happen if it can be avoided. So when I usually give this one differently. For young men, I would say protect her, especially from yourself, because you are the most likely danger to her, because you can easily hurt her feelings. You can also easily physically hurt her. So if protect the young lady, because the ladies, I always say, okay, protect the young man in public, but in private, tell him exactly what it is. Because if you don't mold that young man, no one is going to do it. On average, I'm not saying always, on average, the lady will mold the young man into a real man, and a few men are gifted enough to mold a young lady into a serious woman. So I think protection is number 2, because once those 2 are in place, number 3 is a little easier. That is provide. But once again, for men, it's always a tough one, you know. But I always say to the ladies, young ladies, you know, it takes a lot for today's men, even my generation, to have a woman who earns more than you do. She brings in more cash at home than you do, and so on and so forth. But you know what? To men, to the young men, it does not matter how much more your lady earns than you do. You must continue to provide. You must realize that, especially if you have children in the family, they have to see that you're a serious father. It's not being wealthy or a millionaire that they're going to respect. The wife and the children are going to respect the fact that you are there for them. Even if you earn far less than the wife, well, always bring something home for your wife and children. There's nothing so painful. One of the most painful things I've heard was when I met a friend from way back, and she had married and divorced. and asked, but why? What happened? And the answer was, the guy, the guy never provided anything. Uh, uh, didn't even buy me underwear, she said. Now, it doesn't matter how much more your wife earns than you. Buy her special things that don't cost a lot. It's not the amount of money. And the same applies to friendships and to family relationships. I remember way back, back in the 80s, actually. I remember it was one of these family celebrations. And towards the end of the day, one of my brothers approached me and said, just before we go, I haven't seen my father for a long time. And I just want to give him a gift, Can you please lend me a little bit of money? Can you lend me $20? I really want to give him some money. I haven't given him anything for a while. So I said to my brother, how much do you have? Why don't you give him what you have? He says, oh no, you see, I only have $2 in my pocket. I said, you give him $2. You give him the $2, And after a while, he actually did that. He went over to my father and said, I don't have much money, but I thought, here's $2 for you. And guess what? My father was so happy. It was unbelievable. He actually called his mother, his Sekuru, his Malume, his everyone, and said, look what my son has done for me. Just $2, but because it meant so much coming from him. That's what matters. So provide. The fourth law is desire, because if you don't physically desire somebody and it's obvious, you got a problem. And again, it's something that is pretty confusing for the youngsters, because they okay, you fell in love with her because she looked like a model. Now she's whatever, and you no longer a hunk anyway. But you cannot stop desiring somebody because she doesn't look the way you wanted her to look some time back. No, actually, you should. The more she looks different, the more you should love her or love him. I always say because for men it will be, oh, now she's fat, she's put on weight. Actually, she's shorter than I thought. Well, if she's put on weight, there's more of it for you to love. So why don't you just celebrate that she has put on weight? So you have to desire your partner. And if that stops, then most things are going to stop. Number 5 is basically you must appreciate what she has or what he has and depreciate what she does not have or what he does not have. Because once again, when you confuse romantic feelings with love, when you're infatuated with somebody, they cannot do any wrong. Your guy cannot do anything wrong at that stage. Your girl cannot do anything wrong. In fact, I can tell you the one time I lost one of my best friends at boarding school is when I made a comment about how a girl looked. That's the last time he spoke with me. That was the last time he spoke with me, because he, quote unquote, loved her so much that any negative comments are not going to be welcome. But down the road, that reverses completely, and there's no good comment anymore. All comments are negative. So just appreciate what she has or he has, and downgrade all the things she does not have. Why should anybody have all the things you want? A relationship does not mean you have things that you want. A relationship means that you are committed to having fun, to having this and managing this relationship for as long as it lasts. Number 6, entertain her or entertain him, because I can almost guarantee at the time you're falling in love, so to speak, or you're entering the relationship, there's absolutely no way you could have succeeded without making your partner smile, laugh, have fun. It's that's how it works. And then down the road, it doesn't have to be kind of the same thing, but what you need to know is you have to continue to make her smile, especially inside. You must continue to make him laugh, continue to make it. It's because that is one of the most, if you can commit a lot of crimes in your relationship, and that's what relationships are for. Many mistakes, many faults, they are all going to be forgiven by doing the right thing, by applying these laws I'm talking about. Because if you make somebody smile inside, it's just closest to the spiritual definition of love that I'm going to deal with down the road when we go spiritual. But finally, you must inspire your partner. You must inspire your partner. Once again, women are better equipped and better schooled at inspiring us men. We find it more difficult to inspire our women, especially once we are now in the relationship. So you see, young ladies often give up their own careers, or they'll give up a lot of their own time to look after the children, to do all sorts at home, housekeeping, what have you. And young men career can move a lot faster. If you are in a relationship or a marriage where, as a young man, your woman really inspires you and spurs you on and you're moving, you must always remember that you have to return the favor. You have to reach a point where you inspire her to achieve her own dreams. She also dreams just like you. And it is very important. It's very, very important to always inspire your partner, especially when she's down, when things are not going well. Be there for her, that lift her up, and know that she can still achieve her own dreams. We can't dream on behalf of others just because she's your wife or is your husband. We have to inspire each other to reach our best. And men, we tend to be a bit more jealous than the women. So we only want to inspire them as long as they're not doing better than us. No, I mean, when your woman is doing better than you in career-wise or business-wise, you're going to benefit more than if it was you actually succeeding, because they are more considerate than we are. So those are the 7 laws. Like I say, they can be applied to any aspect of relationships. It's about managing the relationships, improving communication, improving conflict management capabilities, and more importantly, just being committed. So after having said all those laws, I just boiled them to one for myself. And this is me. I can tell you my own secret is, I don't fall in love and then commit. I never do that. I commit first and then fall in love. Okay. We can talk about it if you want, but if you think you're going to fall in love and then commit, the chances are that somewhere down the road it's going to collapse. You must first decide, I'm committed, I'm in. And then you slowly turn up the volume. Don't start with a high volume and then it slowly dwindles to a whisper. Start with a whisper and slowly turn up the volume. Under promise and over deliver. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that presentation. We now open up the floor to questions and contributions. Please use the hand reaction button to show if you want to contribute. Lindiwe?
Yeah, thank you so much. And thanks, Prof. Mandi, for just elaborating on these seven laws of love. I have several questions, and I'm not even sure where I should start, but perhaps I should start with the respect one, which was the first law. There may be different interpretations of what respect entails, because sometimes if someone says, well, she doesn't respect me, it depends what your demands on, wouldn't it depend on what your demands are for respect? What does it entail to respect? Does it mean that, when it's meal time, she must go on her knees and bring the basin to wash your hands? Or is it about, oral communication? How does she talk to you? So I don't know. I just get a sense that sometimes there are so many different interpretations of what respect is, depending on the circumstances.
Thank you very much, Lindiwe. Joshua?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
That's great. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I just wanted to share also on that issue of respect. Being the same generation with Prof, it's like we've been through some of these things on an advisory capacity. Some 10 years or so, a sister of mine from one of our community says to me, I found a man who says he loves me. So we're thinking about,
What happened to Josh?
Joshua? We've lost Joshua. Over to you, Prof. Maybe you can respond to Lindiwe whilst we wait for more questions.
Yeah. No, Lindiwe asked a very important question. Very important question. So respect is not going down on your knees for your husband or vice versa, and all that kind of rituals. By respect, I mean just having due regard for the other person's feelings and also desires. Due respect for what somebody else values, not what you value yourself. That's what respect. If you think respect is somebody kneeling for you, it's actually itself is you are saying what kneel for me. That's what I want. Respect is what the other person wants. That you realize, even if it's not the first thing you would always do, but you have to, because you have due feelings for the other person. If that falls away, and it's just about you, then it's not respect. It's something else. And in fact, in a relationship, that's what often happens. When you're getting in and you're falling head over heels and you're infatuated, you are prepared to accommodate anything, which is the basis of respect, I suppose. But when you're no longer there, then you don't do any of it. In fact, you become very negatively the disposition becomes negative. So I think, Lindiwe, you asked a most important question, and for youngsters, that question is important because I've often had time with youngsters because they think the lady respected him at the beginning, now no longer respects him because they no longer do A, B, C, and D. But you're no longer the same superhero that you were, when you first met her. You're just an ordinary person. We are all ordinary people. Now she knows you. She's taken you to bed. She's taken you wherever she knows you're just ordinary. So get used to it and continue to respect her.
Thank you, Prof. Msonza.
Okay, I'd forgotten to unmute myself. I just wanted to throw in something there as well. I think in addition to that, I think for me, respect, you know, the kneeling and all that stuff is what you're doing. It's part of like the romance of it. Respect shows itself best at the moment of maybe unhappiness or conflict. The words you choose to use at that point, the actions you choose to take at that point speak more of respect for your partner than does anything you'll have done before that point, I think. Because if you can look at that situation and say, the agenda is to make sure that we fix this and move to a better place in the relationship, then you are respecting the relationship and your partner. But if you are saying, then you've lost it. So it's really at those points that respect is shown more so than the kneeling and all that, like the Prof is saying, I think the ritualistic stuff, which looks like respect until somebody then they show the other side. So I think respect really shows up in those moments more so than in the in-between peaceful moments.
Yeah, I like that. I like that very much. Shower.
I was also going to say, I think I hadn't noticed it.
Thank you very much.
Who's Manjadzi now?
Are you related to Nana Kubi, Nana Tororiro?
You can continue with that after the show because there are many other people out there who are listening in that. Yeah, good.
Thank you. Lindwe, your hand is raised. Do you want to? Okay.
Yes. Am I still unmuted?
Yes.
I as I said earlier, I had a number of questions, and I think Musonza raised just one word that he said, which brought me to a question I'd written earlier. He said conflict. And I wanted to go to the next law of protect. And I was thinking about how, Prof says that, for a young man is to protect herself from you, that you might cause her harm, physical, emotional, or otherwise. But I was thinking how often, and I'm speaking from a woman's perspective, how often as daughters-in-law, we run into situations with our mothers-in-law that sometimes create conflict between ourselves and our partner, between ourselves and our husband or our boyfriend, whatever it is. Most of the time when it's now a husband, when it's a boyfriend, I think the mother-in-law likes you very much when you're still a girlfriend, but when you become a wife, there's some kind of a conflict that occurs there. And I think from, as I say, I'm speaking from a woman's perspective, that often the husband is at a loss as to how to protect you from his mother. And so maybe, Prof, you can talk a little bit about that. And it's not always just his mother. It could be an atete, it could be other people that are in his sphere in terms of his relatives, and the extent to which he can actually protect you while maintaining that mutual respect that we just talked about. Thank you.
You want me to respond, moderator?
There's a question from Blessing. You can respond after Blessing.
Okay, thank you for giving me a chance. Okay, I wanted to ask on respect. Like, why should we respect these guys when sometimes they don't understand it? For example, if you respect him, sometimes you feel like you're backward and you're not romantic. So to what extent can we really respect these young guys? That's my question.
Thank you very much, Blessing. Over to you, Prof.
Thank you. you know, the mother-in-law, daughter-in-law, it's almost like sibling rivalry sometimes, because what's happening, especially in African culture, is the daughter-in-law is the incoming mother of the family, because you're not just coming in there to be my son's wife. You're coming to eventually be the mother of the whole family. So hey, people don't give up that power easily, you know. And when they do give that power, they want to see if they have tried very hard to how malleable you are, so that you can be a bit more like them than your true self. But in my experience, my own personal experience is that if my mother is being disrespectful to my wife, or vice versa, well, I just simply won't take it. I will not participate in anybody depreciating my wife, and I won't also stand anyone depreciating my mother. So if there is no mutual respect between the two, I'm sorry, I'm not going to take any sides, and both will soon figure out that I'm not going to take any sides and see until I see mutual respect. Because I mean, otherwise, if you cover this one and then cover that one, you're finished. I mean, then your whole life is mediating between two people who who have no intention of getting on. So just don't take any disrespectful behavior from anybody. It doesn't matter who it is. So for me, it doesn't matter what anyone thinks about my wife or my mother. She's still my wife, and she's still my mother. And I'm not going to take anybody being disrespectful. That's how I look at it. There's no perfect answer, I suppose. Blessings, you see, blessing, your point, you said something very interesting. You said, well, you try to respect this guy, and then he actually thinks you're backwards, or you're something wrong with you, or you're less desirable because you show this kind of respect. I think blessing, you're doing something wrong. I don't know what it is, because any woman has tremendous power. I mean, you just have no idea how much power you have as a young lady. If you don't know how to use that power, I don't know what happened to it, because most people have it. There's a woman who knows the sacredness of your femininity is not going to be disrespected by anybody. Nobody. So don't expose yourself to a point where you lose that. You must always make it absolutely clear from your disposition. You're respectful, but you're pretty firm. And by the way, the beauty in my own experience, I'm not talking of others, my own personal experience, the beauty of a woman is in her strength. You know, it's not a pretty face or whatever, all those things that disappear anyway, but firm, strong, dependable, don't take any nonsense. And I always say to my family members and friends, I think that most of us who were brought up by a tough mother and kind of a gentle father are better off than those who had a tough father and a kind of mother who did not enforce any any rules. I'm telling you, because when it comes from a lady, it can happen without depreciating the amount of love. There are very few people I've met who thought their mother did not love them just because they would wallop you every other day. When your mother wallops you every other day, you still respect and love your mother, because you know deeply it's coming from somewhere, even if she's making mistakes here and there. But for a father to do that, there's something wrong. You are not going to take it in easily. So blessing. Go back to your femininity and your the power that you have inside you. and use that. Don't let any young man, it doesn't matter who it is, disrespect you or make you feel like you're not lovable because you respect them. No ways. Don't go there. But I'm sure there's some of you who might give you some in the crowd who give you better better advice than I've given you. I'm just giving you my experience. Women are more powerful than you're making it out to be.
Thank you very much, Prof. Brian. Brian, please unmute. Brian, please unmute.
Hello.
Hello, Brian. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you so much, Prof, for that presentation. Got two questions. The first one is with regards to the law to provide. It seems as if these days, now we have a different definition of providing. Recently, we were in, Valentine's Day. Most ladies were actually expecting bigger things. For example, maybe before the Valentine's Day, there were some flowers which were trending. They're costing approximately $100 to $200. Most ladies were actually expecting that from men. So my question, Prof, is what happens to that when a lady expects too much than you can provide?
Thank you very much, Brian. Lindy Webb.
Sorry. It's an interesting question from Brian. I wish I could respond to that. But on the provide, I also had something to say about the fact that what is provided it doesn't necessarily always have to be material things, but there are some non-material things that that one can provide. And I think it also depends. If you have grown in a relationship, you begin to understand what are the kinds of things that one appreciates. You know what your partner appreciates. And that can be providing without necessarily going out there shopping $100 worth of groceries or maybe the flowers that Brian is talking about, and always chocolate or whatever. But to do something special just because it's Valentine's, it's very commercialized about chocolate and roses and whatever. That's the commercial side of things. But the reality side of things is just, to do something that is unique and personal and romantic for the two of you. That was my thing on provide. I'll ask my last question, then I won't talk anymore. I wanted to ask Prof about a question about something he hasn't spoken about, and it's not amongst the laws, and I'm not sure where it fits. And it's a question about lingering love. What happens when, a young couple fall in love very early in their lives? Usually we all fall in love like at high school and stuff like that. I don't know about committing first and then falling in love, but we fall in love like at high school. And and as the years pass, we may become engaged with other people, not engaged as in the engagement sense, but I mean, we may form relationships with other people as time moves on both sides, the male side and the female side. We may go off and form relationships with different people. but the love still lingers. And even distance and time, it doesn't really matter. The love still lingers. How does one respond to that? How does one react to that? How can one deal with that and find some kind of satisfaction at the end of the day? That's my question about things you didn't talk about. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lindwe. Brian has another question, and then over to you, Prof. Brian, please unmute.
Hello. Yes, I've got another question, Prof. With regards to the difference between romance and love, because it seems as if these ladies nowadays are now watching too much TV, and they can't distinguish between romance and love. So I would like to have, maybe can you distinguish between those and how each of the two can be shown and how relevant and how important each of those are to a couple in a relationship?
Thank you very much, Brian. Very interesting question there. Over to you, Prof.
So Brian started with the question around the $100 bunch of roses or flowers. So Brian, in life, nothing has value in life. Okay, so I will probably say one or two controversial things in these last few questions. Absolutely no value in anything. You are the one who gives value to it. She is the one who gives value to it. Because you can have a $1 million Ferrari parked outside your door for some goat rearing somebody in the Himalaya mountains. It's worth nothing. They'd rather have 10 more goats. So there's no value in anything. It's what you give it as value. So if this lady places more value for her in the $100 flowers, and you don't really think they are not worth that, what's your problem? Your problem is very simple. If you really think you just want to make her happy, and $100 flower is what's going to make her happy, that's it. But if you really know this lady and you know what she values, and you got her something that she really truly values, don't go and buy the $100 flowers. Okay. But it's commercial, as Lindy was saying. It's all commercialized, and I'm sorry. I mean, there's zero value in anything. I mean, I've had just give you one other, maybe not so clever example, but I only started drinking a bit of wine myself. I think I was already 55. So I'm not a connoisseur of wine, but I tell you, I've drank a $10 wine, and I've drank a $100 wine, and sometimes the $5 wine tastes to me better than a $1,000 wine. Is all experienced from inside. Is what you feel inside that matters, not what somebody tells you is worth. Then Lindy, I'm also going to say something controversial about the lingering love. Well, but don't forget that human society has been crafted to meet the requirements of those who really run our lives. Anybody has capacity to love 100 people for the rest of your life. But we are putting institutions to make sure we're not going to allow you to do that. Some are marriage institutions, some are laws, some are... But anybody, men or women, you can love more than one person easily, actually, very easily. And I know in our culture, a man is allowed to marry more than one wife. But if we allowed women to marry more than one man, they would do it. And the men would be quite happy. But we don't allow you because that's how we have crafted it. I know women, I know men who are quite happy to share a woman for life, but it's hush hush. They don't talk about it. So lingering love is perfectly normal. It's just what you do about it that you have to decide what it's going to do to your social standing. Otherwise, Lindy, you can fall in love with many people. I have no difficulty with that if you can manage it, but most of the time, society won't allow you to do it. The difference between romance and love, Brian, it's like I was saying earlier, love is something that actually is misunderstood. So I'm going to give you the spiritual definition. I was going to leave it for another session, but you see, just like I was saying to you, there's no value with anything in life. It's what value you give. Love is similar. Love is what you yourself truly feel when nobody has done anything to you. That's the truest definition of love. If you feel love because of something that's been done by somebody, it's mostly romantic. And love you can put a small portion of love to it, but genuine love does not have to be triggered by anything, by the way. So it's a much more difficult space to be in. But romance, I think if a woman is gonna fall head over heels with you, Brian, because you buy $100 flowers, if you are missing a bit of romance in your life, better save some money and buy some. But it's not gonna give you love. It's not gonna give you much love. So yes, it's watching too many Hollywood television, movies. I think in the Western world, it boils down to, if you are not romantically in love, then you're not in love. It used to, because I'm much more traditional than I am Western, traditional African. I used to get surprised, you know, when I started understanding life overseas, and you hear somebody say, I fell out of love with somebody. I've fallen in love with this one. Then I fell out of love. And I'm thinking, how do you fall out of love? You fall in and then you fall out. And where I come from, falling in and out is none of your own. Actually, you yourself who think you are falling in and out, it's none of your business. Your business is that you got a wife or a husband or a brother or a sister, and you try your best to make the relationship work. But I saw a lot of Americans, British people, you know, all of a sudden they've got a wonderful relationship with the wife for years. Then one day you just hear them, I met somebody else. You met somebody else, now you're falling in love with this one because you met somebody else? I mean, I can meet many other nice people myself. I'll never fall out of love with my wife. It will be another person I'm loving. You fall out of love with your wife or your husband, are you crazy? There must be something huge for you to reach that point. So Brian, all the best with your love life, but yeah, spend more time on love than on romance. But make your loved ones know that you love them. Make them feel that there's romance in it. Turn up the volume slowly. Don't start your marriage with fire, 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 and then 3 years down the road, no fire. I mean, that's how I was mentored myself by my fathers, because we Africans are lucky. You have many, many mothers and many, many fathers. So you're told, now you're married, that's the deal. You know, you go home every night, you sleep in your wife's bed, even if you're late. If you want to see the girlfriend, too bad. You still have to go home and sleep in your wife's bed. If she gives you food, she cooked for you, you must be hungry. Eat all of it. Don't even leave. Ask for more. You know, and when you go to bed, don't say, oh, I'm tired. No ways. If she wants attention, give her 100% attention. She must get up in the morning and say, no, you're late for work. I've had enough. None of this business of, oh, I'm tired. No. So you must commit. You must commit, and then all your sins are going to be forgiven. But if you're going to be wishy-washy, none of your sins are going to be forgiven. You're gonna go down with them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof.
Lindy was waving a finger at me. I'm sure she wants to say, Prof, what's all that? You are the one who started it. You are the one who said lingering love. So how do you deal with lingering love? You deal with it, but it doesn't, you should not subtract anything at home just because you got lingering something.
Thank you very much, Prof. Musonza, over to you.
I was going to try and make sort of a contribution on the romance and love thing. I'll be excited to when Prof gets to talk to us about the idea of spirituality and separating it from obviously the notions of religiosity and stuff, because the very idea that you can entrust your emotional well-being and everything into somebody in and of itself, which is what we call love, or the beginning of love, is a very romantic place from which we depart. But love becomes the spiritual capacity of the person who is the object, I guess, of your affection, to protect that romantic notion that you have, that sustains. So love makes romance inevitable. If you have the capacity to consistently be this person who respects, who protects, who desires, if you have the capacity to be that consistently, romance is inevitable, because it reinforces the romantic notion that another person can validate you to the point that you can spend the rest of your life with them. But love is the power. Everything else sort of romance is undefinable. It's the magic that comes with love. That kind of, so we have to cultivate the power to love, which is a deeply spiritual capacity. It's really deeply spiritual, I think, and most of us don't ever get to be that honest in and of ourselves, I think.
I like that. Mzonza. You know what you've just said is powerful, because if I interpret it slightly differently, you're basically saying, Brian, if spending money on flowers is love, then when you run out of money, you're not going to have love. Okay, so all other forms of power, like money or having capacity for violence, and if that's what gives you power, or your ideological prowess, your political or ideological or religious, all those forms of power, money, when you give some away, you have less. Isn't that so, Msonza? Yeah. Love is only power which, when you give out, you still have it. You're not going to have less because you gave it out. Okay. Everything else, you share it, you have less. That's why I think it's the ultimate, like you say, it's the ultimate power.
Thank you very much, Prof. Lindiwe has got another question. We'll take one more question after Lindiwe, and then we'll close off the session for today.
I confess I'd said that was my last question. So I wanted to go to the law of inspiration, to inspire. And what I was thinking about it is that sometimes trying to inspire someone may actually be misconstrued as pushing, or can be equated to, oh, so you don't think I'm good enough, and yet, you're being supportive of somebody and encouraging them to do something that's for their own good, not necessarily for your good. So what does one do about that? How does one inspire diplomatically, so that you don't come across as if you're trying to say, hey, pull up your pants, you're not good enough. You see, so and so is doing this, why can't you also do this? And the same applies to women. if a man is saying, they may have experienced something somewhere, wherever it was, and they want to encourage it to come into the home. And then it brings up all these questions about us. So, and it goes down the rabbit hole to all kinds of other things and destroys the whole initial intention of initial intention of wanting to inspire someone. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I suppose too much of everything backfires. If you nag too much, it backfires. If you laugh too much, it backfires. The saying, unochengeta imbwa mkaka mangwana inofuma ichikuruma. It's true. If you look at the people that you spoil in your life because you think, oh my goodness, these are the people who matter the most. These are the ones who are going to turn against you, down the road. And they think, oh, he used to do this for me and now it stopped. And so on and so forth. So in the end, too much of everything can be a bit of a problem. So, but inspiring, my answer is also unorthodox, Lindiwe. So I look at it this way. My partner, my wife, is perfect. Did I tell you already? She's perfect. There's a lot of room for improvement, but she's still perfect. The same applies to me. I'm perfect, but there's lots of room for improvement. So the way to do it, to inspire Lindiwe, in my case, what I found is, start off by saying, you are perfect as you are. And then, oh, by the way, actually, it's like for men, if your wife or girlfriend asks you, oh, she puts on she really thinks she's dressed well, and now she comes out and says, what do you think of, how do I look? Now, a stupid man will say, terrible. Why don't you put that other dress, or why don't you, a cleverer boyfriend will say, perfect. Maybe next time I could change this, maybe, but it's perfect, So you have to be a bit more smart how you inspire. Inspiring can be, what you're saying, Lindiwe, is somebody can misconstrue that to say, you think I'm dumb, or you think I don't know what I'm doing, you think I'm not perfect. Whereas inspiring is a lot more obviously powerful when somebody is really down, and then you help them to, when they don't expect you to be empathizing, when they don't expect you to believe in them anymore, it's when you believe in them. So one of my other philosophies in life is, I'm scared dead of most things. I don't like to fight. I don't like this until I'm in trouble. I mean, then I can fight like you cannot imagine it. I'm not the same person anymore. That's how I think the human nature is constructed. You always find ways of coming across in non-threatening ways. But if you have to be firm and tough, just do it. So for the ladies, don't stop trying to mold the young man because he growls when you do it. Just find different ways of doing it. So Lindiwe, don't stop, because these youngsters need more help than you know. You heard it from Chipo the other day. The ladies are more prepared for marriage and relationships than the young men. And ego is much bigger there than with the ladies. But I found that when I'm really down and out, I thought I was smart. I thought I knew everything, and then I'm in big trouble. And she comes up and helps me to lick my wounds. It's powerful. I appreciate it. So the ego goes down. So yeah, very, very important question though, Lindiwe. Life and love are very weird things. The difference between love and hate is just 1 degree. It's just exact opposite of the same thing. Eh? So the more you love somebody, the more you're potentially gonna hate them if something goes wrong, isn't it? So it's why in traditional African marriages and relationships, those things did not count. When you're romantically in love, don't tell us about it. We don't even want to know about it. You only want to know about it when you are serious about marriage, because then you're going to have children. You're not going to look like a hunk. You're not going to look like a model. You're just going to be a mother. So that's what we want to know, that when that happens, you still love this woman or this husband. Not this thing, oh, yeah. Now you brought a pretty face to at home. It didn't count in traditional settings, because relationships are deeper than that romantic aspect. It could be a starting point. It often is the starting point, but we also don't care. In the traditional system, we care, but we don't care. A few people would care, like Shipo was emphasizing. You get your kind of token thing from your boyfriend or your girlfriend to show the malume or the tete, but at the end of the day, we're not impressed by the romantic aspect. We are more impressed by a commitment to the family and the system, and that you're going to look after those children, look after that husband. So as we modernize and transform from a traditional society to a kind of modern African society, it has to be an African interpretation of the same things. That's what I'm really looking for, so that we don't end up where we are today, where our youngsters don't know the difference between what do you call that thing, Brian, that you do when you give flowers? Valentine? Yeah, Valentine. Who the hell is Valentine? You know, you are gonna do flowers once a year. That's why she wants $100 flowers. If you're giving a piece of something every day, she would not bother about $100 flower. But now that it's a once a year thing, Valentine, where is he to the rest of the year? That guy Valentine of yours. I don't trust him. Everything that comes once a year, Christmas, what have you, it's a plot to take your money. Every day must be Valentine Day if you were serious. So if you bring your wife and family a loaf of bread every day, that's more important than bringing $200 flowers once a year. If your wife really wants that, rather than bringing a piece of something every day, then I'm sorry, you are in there, stay, but you made the wrong choice. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Very interesting discussion today. Thank you very much, Prof, for your time. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions. Thank you for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure having you. Would like to move this conversation to our WhatsApp and Telegram groups. We'll be sharing the 7 laws of love in those groups. This session will be put up on our YouTube channel in the next 48 hours. The next Zoom session will be on Wednesday, the 24th of February. Thank you very much. Big shout out to the technical team for putting this together. And good night. Thank you.